Yeah, well, we've got to win elections. Let me be clear. You can't win on the issues if you don't win the elections. Now, in my state, even though there was a shift, and although the same number of people voted for Donald Trump in this last election, fewer people showed up to vote for Kamala Harris. But at local elections and state elections in Illinois, we won. We won. And I think that happened all over America. If you look even at the battleground states, Democrats did reasonably well at the local level. It was at the federal level where we lost ground. Although I must say we're on the verge of taking back the House of Representatives, and I think in 2026 we need to go do that. Again, we've got to win elections in order to win for the American people and working families across the country. At a moment when anti-Semitism is at an all-time high in my lifetime, we have a very prominent figure who is very closely associated with the president standing up at a presidential rally and giving 2 Nazi salutes in a row. Now, if he didn't mean it, he should apologize. But he knows very well what those things mean. And even, again, if he didn't mean them, afterward you could say, and he should, I didn't mean that. That wasn't the symbol I was trying to show. Now, here's what I think about it. Neo-Nazis across the United States celebrated when he did that. That should be some indication to everybody about why this is so important for him to call out. Now, what has he followed up with? Jokes about Nazis. Jokes, like it's okay. And then showing up in a video presentation to the far right folks who are the most anti-Semitic in German politics, and and standing up for them and telling them, I'm for you. That's bad for the United States. It's bad for Jews across the world. It's bad for Germany. And President Trump ought to be calling that out. If he doesn't agree with Elon Musk, if he doesn't agree with 2 Sig Heils at his own rally and backing a party that backs Nazis, then he ought to say so. Why isn't Donald Trump speaking out? Well, let me start by being clear that when we're talking about violent criminals who've been convicted and who are undocumented, we don't want them in our state. We want them out of the country. We hope they do get deported. And if that's who they're picking up, we're all for it. They show up with a warrant, and we're going to hand over people who are in our prisons or in our jails who fit that description. Now, what they're also doing, though, and it's quite disturbing, is they're going after people who are law-abiding, who are holding down jobs, who have families here, who may have been here for a decade or 2 decades, and they're often our neighbors and our friends. And why are we going after them? These are not people who are causing problems in our country, and what we need is a path to citizenship for them. We need to secure our border. We need to get rid of the violent criminals, but we also need to protect people, at least the residents of Illinois and all across the nation, who are just doing what we hope that immigrants will do. Dana, we're going to follow the law in Illinois and federal law too. We expect them to do the same. I'm very afraid that they will not follow the law. The reason they put a memo out like that is that that's already the law. We have to follow federal law. We have to follow state law. Otherwise, we're potentially subject to prosecution. Of course, we all know that. They're just putting that out because they want to threaten everybody. They want people to step back and let them do whatever they want to do, the federal officials. And the reality is that they can't break the law. You heard them talk about something unconstitutional this year, the removal of birthright citizenship. We're going to stand in the way of an unconstitutional order. We'll also stand in the way of them breaking the law in Illinois if they're not following federal law. Now, we know that if they show up with warrants to take people away, that we're going to hand them over. There are people who have deportation orders and have had for many years, even during the prior Trump administration, who need to be picked up and who are violent criminals and, again, should be deported. So we're going to do what we need to do. But we also have a law in the books in Illinois that says that our local law enforcement will stand up for those law-abiding, undocumented people in our state who are doing the right thing. And we're not going to help federal officials just drag them away because somebody pointed at them and said, oh, that person's brown, or that person's not from here. Check it out. Maybe they're undocumented. No, what it requires is that our local officials will not coordinate with federal officials on the arrest of people who don't, when they don't have a warrant associated with them. Look, again, we want to get violent criminals off the street just like everybody else does, and we're going to coordinate in that. And if someone's breaking the law and they're in the process of breaking the law, or we know they've broken the law, we want help from federal officials to arrest them. But our local officials are not just going to say, well, that person seems like they're undocumented, so we're going to hand them over to you and you can figure it out. Well, it's clear what we need to be doing is standing up for the values of the vast majority of American people, and what Democrats stand for, right? We want to raise the minimum wage. They don't. They want to take away health care from 1 million people in my state. We think that we ought to make health care more affordable and more available to people. We want to lower costs for people. We eliminated the grocery tax in my state so that it would be less expensive for people to go buy their groceries. But what's Donald Trump doing? He's raising tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico. That's going to raise prices for people. So we need to make sure that we're communicating properly. I think that's one of the big challenges that we had in this last election. Our message wasn't right. It's not that our policies aren't right, but the Republicans did a great job of painting Democrats into a corner, talking about issues that sometimes don't matter to most of the public. I think we need to be squarely on working families and what's good for them.